So my brother talked me into doing a thing. G.I. Joe Fest. Alright, yo Joe. Joe! Alright, let's go. First, let me tell you what G.I. Joe Fest is.
Knowing is half the battle.
It's a thing called Assembly Required, and it's put on by a group of guys called Codename Iowa. It started with just a couple guys that wanted to have a little get-together at a local comic book shop, just a couple tables, nothing huge. But it's turned into an annual event that draws people from all over the country to see panels, celebrities, toys, comics, you name it. Basically, it's a reason to get together for a bunch of G.I. Joe fans and share some experiences and for the love of G.I. Joe that we all grew up with. So, why did I do this? Well, my brother talked me into it, as I said before. We both grew up loving G.I. Joe. He was born in '75 and I in '79. So we were really born in the perfect childhood window to be impacted by the likes of Snake Eyes, Destro, Cobra Commander, and Duke.
But Mom will be upset.
She'll be even more upset if you lie. And how would you feel if Billy got punished?
We didn't have video games or on-demand streaming or cell phones to distract us. No. We had G.I. Joe. We had Saturday morning cartoons. And since my brother and I were the lucky kids whose parents spoiled us rotten, we had about every single G.I. Joe action figure and vehicle under the sun. But, as with all childish things, I kind of outgrew G.I. Joe. My brother, probably not so much. Once he became an adult and had a real job that paid him real money, he still kept buying the toys. He's done so since childhood, and he's in his late 40s now.
Well, let's find out if we've wasted $1 billion taxpayer dollars.
But when he heard that there was a G.I. Joe Fest that was right here in Iowa, he jumped at it, and he's been every single year. Last year, he tried his hand at being a vendor for the first time. He made a bunch of 3D printed swamp skiers, and he sold out within an hour. So this year, he really wanted to prepare and go full bore. And since he knows I own a laser now, he asked if I'd make some awesome stuff and tag along this year. But first, we needed a name.
Give me no buts.
Not just dad crafted, we needed something Joe related. So we came up with Special Mission Forge.
G.I. Joe is the code name for America's daring, highly trained Special Mission Force.
And you can follow us on Instagram at Special Mission Forge. So then it was just a matter of figuring out what we could make. And since I'm a procrastinator by nature, I waited till the last minute. And then I was trying to cram things in like Destro trying to make the Weather Dominator for Cobra Commander.
Now, what have you brought me?
First, I had to think about the stuff that I loved as a kid. Now, as I said before, we had almost every single action figure. And I love the action figures, but I also love the toy backer cards that they came on. The artwork on those things was freaking amazing. So okay, let's make a bunch of those, but bigger. As signs.
I start by doing the drawing in my Procreate app on my iPad. This is essentially like inking over the original artwork. Then I fire each of the characters' digital files on the laser. Then all the engraved lines get spray painted black, and then we peel off all the masking tape to reveal the primed wood underneath, and then it's ready for hand painting. I did 6 different figures, and I did 3 of each, so this was a lot of hand painting. For the backers, I cut out some stencils on the laser to make that blast fire explosion thing that was on the back of the toy card backers. Then I just used spray paint in a few layers. And then I hand painted the rest. Again, lots of hand painting here. Several rounds of polyurethane later, and then some glue ups later, I finally had a whole set of toy backer card art.
Next, coasters. I've already done the artwork, so why not just take the heads, put them on coasters, sand them up, and go.
So yeah, I basically just went back into Procreate and used just the heads, put a circle around them in Inkscape, and then I've got a coaster set. Slap the logo on the back, boom, coasters. Tons of sanding later, I had about a bajillion of these things.
Next, blueprints. Every G.I. Joe vehicle came with its own set of blueprints. And now, looking back as an adult, that was some pretty cool artwork to have. So instead of having that on a piece of paper, let's do a laser etch sign.
This was really a last minute thing, so I just found some pretty clean images online, brought them into Inkscape, and converted them into vectors, and then yeah, fired a bunch of them on the laser. Since the original blueprints always had blue lines instead of black, I used blue spray paint instead of black. Once done, there was a ton of masking to do. Like, a lot. The laser lines make that grid, and this is a lot of tape to peel, but man, these look awesome.
But if the wood looked good, what would acrylic look like?
So yeah, same design here, just cut on clear acrylic. And then the idea would be I'd spray paint them blue again, and then have a white backer behind them. Alright, there's a white acrylic backer. I had the laser cut 4 holes in each corner so I could use Chicago screws to attach the two pieces together. And man, look how clean those things turned out.
Next, corner box art. Yeah, Marvel made G.I. Joe comics too. And since I became pretty good at making corner box art with all the Marvel superheroes, why not do G.I. Joe?
Similar thing here, guys. Just fired them on the laser, spray painted them, and then did a bunch of hand painting. Once that's all done, a round of polyurethane, glue them to the backer, boom, corner box art.
Next, lights. I've made some acrylic lights in the past, so again, this seemed like a pretty obvious one. Why not make a Cobra insignia, because that looks pretty cool, and try Snake Eyes.
Once again, I'm just using Procreate and GIMP to modify the Cobra insignia to give it that bottom piece that'll fit into these puck lights so they can really shine.
Alright, now we've got our merch. Now let's go to the con.
It is the first step towards Cobra domination of the universe.
Assembly Required takes place at Hy-Vee Hall, which is basically Des Moines' big convention center downtown. It takes up one large room for the vendors, and then there's another large room for the panel discussions.
We arrived Friday afternoon and got our table set up. We just used a couple pallets, screwing in some 2x4s to the bottom to stand them upright. Attached our custom banner, and got all of our stuff set up. All Lewis's toys, and all my artwork.
It was a 2-day event, with Friday being a small fee to be able to get early access to the vendors and shop floor to see what was going to be on sale and to actually make purchases in advance. Saturday's access was totally free. It included access to the vendor show floor, all of the panels that were going on, and some pretty cool giveaways throughout the day. And I just gotta say, the folks that run this thing are the best. They really love putting this thing together, and every year they take all the money that they make and put it back into the event just to make this thing bigger and better every single year. It's a really, really well-run show. There were over 24 vendors that came to this thing from all over the country. Vendors included toy sellers, comic dealers, toy creators, digital fabricators, and really just makers in general. My kind of people. On Saturday morning, things kicked off the way they used to when I was 7 years old, with milk and cereal and Saturday morning cartoons. I must say, it's been a minute since I've sat with my brother on a Saturday morning watching G.I. Joe over a huge bowl of Lucky Charms. But here we are. They even had a custom toy contest which happened to be on display right across from our table. So we got to check out all the cool action figures and vehicles that people had made and painted themselves. The skill and creativity on display was amazing, and I gotta say, I'm probably gonna try my hand at this next year. For the kids, there was an awesome scavenger hunt that they organized. So each kid was given a card, and they had to go to all of the different vendor booths to get stickers to try and fill out the card. And when they completed it, they got an awesome prize pack at the end. What do we got?
Oh man. Oh, we got the mini. Oh, we got a commander.
One of the vendors also sponsored a coloring contest that gave the kids a chance to show off their creativity, color a picture, and win some cool prizes. And there was a really great crowd for this thing. Even on Friday night for the paid entry, there was an awesome turnout. And the dinner Friday night was totally full. Saturday was extremely busy and packed with fans throughout the day, and there were still a ton of people around for the final giveaway at the end of the day.
1, 0, 2, 7.
Yeah.
Second time. Means everybody's going home early. Awesome, man. Enjoy.
There were also some great cosplay outfits on display. Top-notch Cobra Commander. And that brings me to Ron Rudat. Who is Ron Rudat, you ask? Well, he's basically the inventor of all these G.I. Joe characters from 1982 through 86. He designed and did the artwork for all of these guys. They flew him in to be a guest panel speaker, and he also had his own booth on the show floor selling prints of his artwork, which he was autographing for fans. Might have snagged one of those myself. So I briefly mentioned a dinner. There was a dinner on Friday night, and for a small fee, you gotta go to a buffet-style dinner, and they threw in some prizes for each person, like a poster and a bottle of Joe Cola and some other cool swag. My brother and I were a little late getting to the dinner from the show floor, so we grabbed a drink at the bar, and we grabbed pretty much the only table that we could at that point. And then a gentleman about our age came up to our table and asked if the seats were taken. We were like, no, sure, have a seat. And he said he needed to save a seat for his dad. At first I thought, it's a little weird to bring your dad to G.I. Joe Fest. Then after a minute or so, I turned around, and I happened to see Ron Rudat walking in through the door. And I thought, I bet this is Ron's son. Sure enough, we got to have dinner with Ron freaking Rudat. Right when Ron sat down, my brother wasted no time in introducing himself and saying, "Sir, I just want to thank you for my childhood." So embarrassing. But anyhow, Ron and Tristan were great. Totally great people, and we had such a good time getting to know them and hang out with them all evening. So of course, on Saturday, I had to hit up Ron's booth. Not only did I end up purchasing one of his pieces and have him autographed, I asked if he'd take one of my pieces that I made based on his artwork and sign it for me. Look at that thing. I mean, what a prize to be able to hang on the wall and have here for future inspiration on all my projects in the workshop. Just awesome.
That's it, G.I. Joe Fest. Been real.
Say bye-bye, G.I. Joe Fest.
Bye-bye, G.I. Joe Fest.
In summary, what a great time. Was it worth all the effort I put in beforehand? Maybe not. But it was definitely worth it to get a chance to see all these people, meet some new folks, and to get to hang out with my brother. I definitely learned that toys sell here. Next year my 3D printer is going to be running non-stop to make toys for this thing. That's all my brother brought, and he cleaned house. And yes, I will definitely be going back next year. Not only did I get to have a great time meeting folks and talking about making and G.I. Joe, but I got to hang out with my brother, and we got a chance to sit back and reminisce about all the toys and memorabilia we used to play with and collect as kids. Like I said previously, Brian and his crew that put on this show did a fantastic job. This is truly a great event for any G.I. Joe fan, and I would encourage anybody that loves G.I. Joe to try and make their way to Iowa next year to go to this thing. I know that they're going to do their best to make sure that this event gets bigger and better every year. But in the meantime, if you happen to like any of the merch that you saw in this video, check out my Etsy shop. It'll be linked down in the description. I've got all the leftover stuff that I didn't sell at the con available for sale on Etsy. And also be sure to follow my Instagram page. That's dad_crafted. To follow along on all the projects that I make, and follow our new little side project at Special Mission Forge. Also, check out the Codename Iowa Facebook page. That's also going to be linked down in the description. If you like this video, leave a like, and be sure to check out one of the other videos that we've got queued up for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.